Schilling, because he sent out tweets.
Well, first of all, Howie, we'd have to ask Mike Barnacle, because he is the judge and the jury in all things character.
That's true.
And I don't think he's going to come on the show, because I don't want to hurt your feelings, but I don't think he's the biggest fan of you.
When they picked him up on waivers at the Herald, someone said, how do you deal with working with Mike Barnacle? And I said, we work different sides of the street. I'm the nonfiction columnist for the Boston Herald. He's the fiction columnist for the Boston Herald. It's
crazy because Mike Barnacle told me the exact same story that you just said.
Very good, Grace. Very good. Curt Schilling is a good guy, and I'm this irritates me because I know the guy, and he's just the most decent person in the world. But even if I did know him, I would just be gobsmacked by the utter hypocrisy and double standard here.
I totally agree, and I was talking about this too today. He's a class act, Curt Schilling, and you can disagree with his politics, but I mean, if you just look at his charitable work, the stuff he's done for, ALS and all these different, diseases and things like that, he's a good guy, and he's a good family man. And it's just, it's not right. But I really believe him when he says, like, it's not, people took his letter that he wrote and said, oh, you don't care, you wrote all this stuff down. If you read the letter, and if you've ever talked to Curt, you know that he's fine with who he is, and he doesn't really care if they like him or not. He probably just wants this constant cycle to end of these people criticizing him who he doesn't care about.
Right, and they can't take away all those victories. His magnificent performance in the World Series for the Red Sox, the fact he won 20 games in both leagues. I mean, they can't take that away from him.
No, exactly. Howie, I did want to tell you a little story here that I just saw from the New York Post. Utah family has 20 members kicked off flight over, can you guess why?
Masks.
Over a mask dispute. American Airlines booted 20 Utah passengers, 10 adults and 10 kids, all from the same family, from a flight to Dallas over noncompliance with its face covering policy. Family member Scott Wilson cried foul over their ousting from flight 1214, telling a news company that one mask slipped below one passenger's nose but was quickly corrected. Now, this is his quote. This is what he's claiming. He says, I didn't really see who it was, but somebody said, hey, keep your mask up. I dropped everything and moved it up, picked up my stuff, and made our way to the back of the plane. After the large family sat down, a gate agent delivered the bad news. He said, now this is again a quote, well, they want you to leave the plane. And I said, what, they want us to get off the plane? Can we talk? Can we have a conversation? Nobody has really talked to us. So after they got the whole group off the plane, he said that a lot of families stuck up for him because the flight attendant said, no, it has to be the whole family. And this is what he said. He said, there was actually a couple families around us that stood up and were like, this is wrong. That guy is being a jerk. He was yelling at other people as they came on too, and he was already mad at these guys. They didn't do anything. One witness told the news outlet that he saw the family wearing masks at all times and feels they were unfairly removed. I hope they sue.
I never heard of 20 people at once being removed off a plane.
Yeah, it sounds like Home Alone. Like, well, where are all these people going? They going to Paris? Where's Kevin? But seriously, I think that people get so Karen-y on planes. I don't know if that's an adjective now, but they get so Karen-y on these planes. And my whole thing is, if you're that scared, then don't come on the plane. Take a road trip. Do the Forrest Gump. Walk across the country. Like, the people on the planes, if you're on there, then you're accepting the fact that you're kind of going to be in close quarters.
Now, do the service dogs have to wear masks, Grace?
Well,
because I read a story about how you can now get your pet vaccinated, or they were saying that down the road you're going to be able to get your dog or your cat vaccinated for COVID-19.
See, I'm so jealous of the dogs because they're only expected to wear one mask, and we're expected to wear 3, and it's just not fair.
Well, it went up again today. I know it increased a couple of days ago to 2, but it's up to 3 now, Grace.
Yeah, I think I saw somewhere
there was
that
a graphic 3. From MSNBC circulating social media saying mask effectiveness: 2 masks 75%, 3 masks 90%.
And then someone wrote back 5 masks 110%. You actually get healthier if you have it on. It's really crazy. Like, this is stuff we were all joking about. But Howie, I thought the most amazing thing was I saw a story in the New York Times today about how we can't relax the lockdowns or else, come the summertime, and they were showing the curves and the hills or whatever it is. And I was like, what happened to 15 days? Now we're talking about we have a vaccine, and even when people are vaccinated, we're not going to open up.
There's a great story. I'm going to get into it later on. And the headline just sums it up. Dismounting the COVID tiger. And it talks about how the oligarchs, the guy calls them oligarchs, deep state, whatever you want to call it. Now that they've gotten rid of Trump, they have to figure out a way out of this. And that's the eternal problem with stirring up a mob, Grace. You think you're in control of it, and then you try, we're going to tamp it down now. We got what we wanted. But some people, you can't tamp them down, right? Like this guy on the plane. He's all Karened up. He'll probably be Karen for the rest of his life, screaming at people.
Right. It's like when Kramer, isn't there an episode where he becomes like a cult leader or something, and then he joins like a cult group, and then they become really into him, and they're like, Kramer, and he can't break out of it because they're worshiping him. And that's what it is. These people are worshiping this
the
COVID
mask.
And the masks. And it's a whole
all
culture
hail
now.
The mask.
And there was a woman today, Howie, she was talking after John Kerry. And it's hard to talk after John Kerry. It's hard to follow that up. But she was talking about how climate change is the greatest health crisis of our time. And I'm just thinking to myself, so all these kids who are sitting at home and all these people who lost their jobs, now you're telling them that what we've just been dealing with for the last couple of months doesn't even qualify as the biggest health crisis of our time. It's still the temperature of the earth.
Well, if it is the greatest crisis of our time, then he should be tried as some kind of war criminal for having this private jet all these years from his that was bought by his second wife's first husband's trust fund, right?
Well, I feel bad because he bought that house in Martha's Vineyard, and I thought he was a Nantucket guy, and then he decided to buy a house in Martha's Vineyard. And I know that Obama's there, and he's probably trying his best to get the sea levels down, but it doesn't look good property-wise. If you really feel that we're all going to be flooded in the next, what is it now, Howie, like 9 years?
Yeah, I think it's down to nine, under 10 years. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Oh, and Howie, did you hear that story about the minimum wage? Like all these liberal moonbats were so pumped that Biden was going to back the minimum wage. And he said, $15 an hour. First, It was $15 million. And then he corrected himself, 15,000. And then he corrected himself again and said 15. And so they're all excited about it. And then they came out yesterday, his administration, and said $15 an hour by 2025. And people on Twitter were hysterically laughing. And they're like, oh my God, you guys, if you bought into this and thought they were going to do this, and now they're telling you 2025. And the thing about the progressives, they're not patient. You know what I mean? Like they don't give you much of a chance if you betray them. So they were all online.
They're a mob.
Warriors. Yeah, they were so mad. How dare he? It was pretty funny. We have the triple mask cut, Howie.
Oh, we do.
This is from CNBC, Shep Smith's new show.
Now, Virginia Tech researchers found that doubling up these cloth masks increases the efficacy from 50 to 75%. A 3-layer mask could block up to 90% of the particles.
Just put a pillow over your face.
Maybe this could put Mike Lindell back into business again. Now that they've tried to cancel him, if you wear a My Pillow over your head, you will be totally immune to the virus. You will never suffer the flu, the seasonal flu that is COVID-19.
It is really crazy. Like, how are people supposed to breathe with that stuff on? Oh, but Howie, another thing I wanted to say, I don't know if you saw this. You remember Daniel Dale? He's a CNN fact checker.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I do remember him now.
He called Trump
he's kind of he's back in the bullpen, isn't he? Or is he on injured reserve? He's going to get 4-year vacation now, right?
Yeah, let's just say his load's a lot lighter now that Trump's not in office. But I thought you'd appreciate this tweet from him because he's still, keeping the Biden administration honest. But tell me if you notice any difference in how he covered the serial liar. That's what he described Trump as, versus how he covers Biden. CNN's Daniel Dale fact-checked many of the statistical claims President Joe Biden made in his economic speech and found Biden was highly factual, though there are some nuances worth noting.
Did he
What
fact
the-
check? Did he fact check him yesterday when he said that now that they have 600 million vaccines, they're going to use them on 300 Americans?
Well,
Did he fact check that?
Howie, that's a nuance. So I don't think we fact check nuances. We kind of just we try to explain them. That's what I always said about Trump. Trump could say something that you'd have to be really dense not to understand what he was trying to say, and they would warp whatever he said, whether it was a joke, they would take it out of context and they would turn it into something totally evil. And now Biden, on the other hand, could say something blatantly bad, and they would say, "Oh, no, this is what he really meant."
No, well,
Deep
they say they took the thing. I mentioned, I think earlier, that they took the thing where he says we have the most inclusive and extensive voter fraud organization in American political history. They said that's been totally debunked. How he said it. The video exists. He said it, but it's been totally debunked because he didn't know what the hell he was saying. Just like when he said he was only going to vaccinate 300 Americans.
No, they kept saying what he likely meant was. I'm like, I don't really think you guys can tell us what he likely meant. Only Joe knows.
One of the texters wants to know if you suffocate from wearing so many masks, will your passing be listed as a COVID death?
That's a really good question. I do not recommend 3 masks or pillows or anything. I recommend just doing exactly what it requires for you to get in the store without, being dragged away in cuffs. Howie, I also want to read you this. So yesterday, the Oval POFIS was announced on Twitter. That would be for Major and Champ, who I think are going to have more press coverage by the media than Joe Biden. And so Stephen Miller on Twitter, he's holding the liberals to their own standards and their own norms. And he is deciding to keep track of how many people are dying every day under Joe Biden's presidency from COVID. So he replies to the POFIS PA release, and he says 2,000 people died of COVID-19 yesterday, almost 20,000 since Biden took office. And then so people on Twitter started to join in on it, and they also were saying this, and people were writing things like, nearly 2.2 people die every minute of COVID-19 since Biden took office. And someone else said, wait, this is my favorite one. 20 more just died from Biden's mishandling of the virus. This has to stop. Hashtag accessory to murder. Hashtag impeach 46. Hashtag illegitimate Joe. So rather than get the joke that this is what they did to Trump for 4 years, a health reporter from The Hill had a little freak out on Twitter. And he didn't like that people were doing this to Joe Biden. And he has since deleted the tweet. And maybe even his Twitter. I haven't checked in a while. But people don't understand. Like, you're missing the point of this. We're just doing what you guys did for 4 years.
Yes. They don't have much of a sense of humor either. Their mobs are not renowned for their wry amusement with bon mots.
Right. It's okay for them to say that the blood's on Trump's hands, but if you make a joke about it about anyone else, they get really offended.
201 says, a 3-masker? I only heard of a 3-bagger. All right. We've got so much stuff to get to here today, Grace. Anyway, thank you for being with us. We do appreciate it. All right, 844-500-4242. We'll take some calls when we come back. I'm Howie Carr.
The Howie Carr Show.